Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another GoDaddy meetup. My name is Marcus Burnett, and I hope that everyone is having a great week so far. Today, I have an incredible guest joining me to share about how you can look at your target customer and produce the most relevant content, increasing engagement, retention, and conversions. And I'm excited for this talk and to hear that everything that you have to share with us. Before I introduce her, though, just a couple of things real quick. I will be in the background looking for questions. So please, if you're joining us live here, go ahead and leave your questions in the chat window, and I will scoop those all up and collect them for the end of the session. Also, this is being recorded and will be available probably within the next 24 hours or so. It'll be posted on our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel, back on the event page where you registered here, and also an email will be sent out to you with the replay link. So be on the lookout for that in your inbox. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in our guest, who you already see on screen. Welcome to the meetup, Ann Macaulay Lopez from Agency Content Writer. How are you today, Ann?
I'm doing great, Marcus. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here. I know we got a little bit of a host switch up and some things have changed, but I'm glad to see that everyone has decided to come join us and hear this chat. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way. Nobody came here to see me. They came here to see you. So let me get my face out of the way and I'll let you share your screen and I will hand the virtual floor over to you.
All right, Marcus. Keep them busy in that chat, everybody.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Window. Here we go. Well, hello, everyone. I was going to say good afternoon. I'm reporting to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was in Arizona for 25 years, and a year ago this month, actually, we moved to North Carolina, and I'm absolutely loving it. I am glad it's not storming like it was last night. We had some thunderbooms here, which the dog didn't like, but that's okay. So I'm here to talk to you today about writing website copy for your target customer. I have been a professional writer since 2010. And when I began my business, I was solely focused on social media, which was really new at the time. And we would ask the question was for a strategy was, do you have a Facebook business page? And we all know social media has grown since then. And I got tired of writing 2 sentences for, Facebook updates and things like that way back then. And so I moved into blogging as well as website copywriting. I've learned a couple things over the years. I've updated my website a few times. So I wanted to share just kind of best of tips with you, good practices, and that sort of information. So in today's session, we want to talk about how to identify or define your target client. That really drives what we put on our website. It drives our call to action, and it drives not only the content we put on those website pages, which is the website copy, but it also drives what we put on our blogs. So think of the website as kind of top of the trees view, a more general view of your business, a little bit more salesy. And then on the blog, we dive into the specifics and really showcase our knowledge and ourselves as experts in whatever it is, whatever field we're in, whatever industry we're working in. So let's start here. Who's your target client? I wrote an article for Entrepreneur called 7 Mistakes That Make or Break a Small Business. And really the number one, I think, is not clearly defining who our target client is. When I started networking back in 2010, I remember going to one of my first meetings and the woman there represented a skincare line. And she said, "Oh, my ideal clients are anyone with skin." Well, anyone with skin isn't really a clearly defined market. I get it. Skincare is kind of kitschy to say, oh, anybody with skin. But what would be more specific would be something like, hey, I've got a product that is perfect for a woman of a certain age who's concerned about fine lines and wrinkles. If that sounds like you, I'd love to sit down and talk to you, show you this product. that's much more specific than anybody with skin. Everybody has skin, right? So we don't cater to everyone. We don't want to work with everyone. We want to be attracting our target client to our website. We want a good commercial when we go to networking events. So really thinking about who that is. So we want to be specific. Now, when I think about people that I've loved to work with in the past, that's really where I started to develop who I really want to work with and who my target is, my ideal client. I remember a client I had way back in the beginning of my business, and he worked very collaboratively with me. We would talk, I don't know, once a week, once a month, and he would say, "Hey, I've got this idea for an article. I want to run it past you." And I would say, "Hey, I found an article in your about your industry. Do we want to comment on this in a blog post?" And so for me, a target customer includes that we work collaboratively, that you know your business well enough that you can articulate it to me, and then I can start creating content that matches what you've told me about your business. So for you, who do you love working with? And it may not even be, it might be a personality type that you like to work with. And then look at what kind of services do you like offering the most, or what are your products that you want to highlight, and that becomes your target client. So for the skincare line, that's typically women, although we now have men's skincare lines. So depending on where you fall in that, the commercial for my old friend back 13 years ago would be something more specific for her target client, whether it's women or men. Men need skincare too. Here's how to, soap up your beard or whatever. So we can begin to think about who do we want to work with and what do we want to offer them and what do we want to highlight in the content that's on our websites. Now, sometimes when I talk about target clients, folks are a little bit resistant. We're a lot resistant. I was a lot resistant. But what I found was in naming very specifically my target clients, who are small businesses and nonprofits, excuse me, and marketing agencies, to offer blogging and website copywriting that reaches their target audience. And it's keyword-based, relevant content. The industries that I focus on are money, marketing, health, wellness, and travel. So very specifically, do I have expertise outside of those specific industries? Yes. Can I write for those? Yes. But if we look at this target circle, specifically are those industries I just mentioned, or your products that you want to highlight, or your target customer. And out here are the outliers outside of those industries. So if someone is a home services client, for example, they fall in this outlier area, but maybe I want to work with them because I like them and I like their business, or they were referred to me by one of my referral partners. Well, I might say, heck yes, I would love to write for you, even though they're not in this target. But it also, in naming our target client, affords us the opportunity to say, you know what, this project or this service or this opportunity just doesn't fit my business where I am right now. And so I'm going to say no, thank you. And it's actually quite freeing to have some parameters set up for ourselves where we can really freely say no, thank you. Or we can say yes if it's an opportunity we want and it's not exactly our target client. We all need business. We all want to get paid. But it's also freeing to kind of set up those parameters and really look at who do we truly want to work with. If you have a target client and a non-target client, you probably want to say yes to the target, right? Those are the folks we really want to work with. They're in an industry we want to work with. They're kind of a personality or a style or a culture that we like. And that's how we start to define who we want to work with. Now, who my target client is or who your target client is can change over time, and that's okay. Or maybe you have more than one, and that's okay too. So as we're thinking about it, as you're sitting thinking about it, I'm going to take a sip as my voice has a little rattle, and just start kind of thinking about who have you liked working with, and let's start pulling out what are those qualities of a target client that you want, and that's who we're going to talk about for who you want to reach in your website content. So what's next? Now that we know who we want to work with, what do we want them to do when they get to our website? What is our clear call to action? I suggest to you, and I recommend that you have one big, clear call to action. So for nonprofits, it's typically a big old donate button and maybe a smaller volunteer button, or we're looking for board members button, but it's really clear what they want and what they need. For small businesses like ours, it might be schedule a consultation, subscribe to a newsletter so you can start building your email list, download our ebook of frequently asked questions or whatever it is, or a PDF, whatever it is that you offer, so that you can also start building your email list. So what is it, once you think about who that target client is, what do you want them to do? We start to think about what's that journey we want to take them on, so that then we create the content for the pages of our website, and it really speaks to those folks that we want to work with. For website content writing tips, for a lot of us, we're smaller businesses, so we start with the basic pages. And remember, this is an overview, and then on the blog, we can get more specific. So our pages are likely a home page, a services and products page, or services or products page, and then maybe you have a main page and we break it down for each service, has its own page depending on your strategy and your company. Really, it's your choice. Something about the company and how you serve your clients, a contact us or a call to action that sends them to like a Calendly. That's what I have on my website so that people can schedule a call. Testimonials, perhaps, if you're more established. And then, of course, the blog, where we can dive into the topics that we mention on the website a little bit deeper. I wanted to, all right, this is going to test my tech skills, everyone. I want to hop off this page and show you a website of a client. Oh, let's see. Oh, this is testing me. Okay. I want to show you an example so that you can kind of understand how that homepage maps to the other pages. And it's a visual. I'm a visual learner, so I thought this would be helpful to show you. This page here, oh, sorry about that. This page here is a website that I worked on, CIADNY. And they are an organization in New York that helps adults who are in like institutionalized care. So they live in these kind of group homes, but they also have a mission that these residents get empowered, they provide resources, and they're changing lives. And so we really wanted to call that out. Their last website was this very small, like kind of in the middle of the page. It was like a newspaper. It was the wrong colors. And so we really dove deep and said, I worked with my website partner and we looked at what colors do they want, what style do they want, what do they want on their websites. And so these are the three things that came out of our conversation: empowering, providing, and changing. So as we scroll down, the content that we have on the site, we start with the empowering. Like, we want to tie everything together that we've got on the website. So we empower residents. Like, how many residents are living in these care facilities, and how many facilities are there in total? How many people are we helping? This is a lot of people that they empower with these different services. They provide resources, and down here is a toolkit that they can you can download. So there's another call to action. Current residents, there's a call to action. Their residents are older, so we wanted to make sure it was clear where they could get their resources and they could log in, I think, and find what they needed that's not privy to the public, shall we say. There's some things that are specific to them and tools uh, for their different groups and things. And changing lives. So this is one of the residents. Isn't she just adorable? And they tell their stories. So we have a YouTube link. So we're already linking out to other websites, linking folks to resources. And then down here, we have just a quick blurb about our mission. And then we click it to learn more, and it goes to another page. We have our history, and it goes to learn more, and we have a longer description of their history. And so each of these pages links to other pages on their website. We talk about the need for these advocates, and we talk about the folks that they lost during the pandemic. They're right in the heart of New York City and all 5 boroughs. They did lose quite a few. And so not only do we have a Meet the Resident section, but we do have an in memoriam. There were some folks who worked with this organization that made some really big things happen in terms of the type of resources that are available to them. So we did want to make sure that that was an important piece to share, and it's part of their mission. Like this is who we serve and who we have served, and we want to thank them for what they've done for the organization. And then it's, we've got to donate now, which for this particular nonprofit, donating isn't as important as the mission and the residents. They do a lot. They go to Albany a lot. They have lobbyists that lobby on their behalf. They have folks that they talk to within New York City politics, New York State, as well as obviously on the national level to get more resources for the aging. So their donate button is a little bit lower on that homepage. So that because it's not as highly important as it might be for another nonprofit. And then we have Meet the Residents. We have their profiles, and we have all the links at the bottom as well. So what we've done is as you look through that homepage, you can see that all of these buttons that we have on the top, are click-throughs on the page. We took a lot of time sifting through a lot of information they had on their website and really got it organized. So for this particular website, what they do is they add pages to their website in resources and different advocacy that they do. They'll add a new news page or a new media item so that changes content on their website. We know that Google likes when we change content. For a lot of businesses, for the businesses that I work with and the nonprofits I work with, a lot of times a blog makes the most sense for them. For this one, it doesn't necessarily, and that's okay. If it doesn't for your business, that's okay. But we want to make sure we're adding pages in other ways. And for most of us, we're not really adding services, a new service on a regular basis. We are adding, we want to share more information about an event or something like that on our blog, right? So let's go back. Okay, here's another test of my sharing ability, people. And let's go back to that presentation. So I hope that website helped illustrate kind of what to have on the homepage, and then that content. You'll see it wasn't a lot of content. It was enough to grab your attention, to have you click through to another page or donate or schedule a consultation if that's what it is on your homepage. So we have that kind of top of the trees content that we really keep our target client in mind. Once we have that, then we move to blogging. Now, blogging really is a proven way to drive traffic and, of course, increase lead generation on your website. Now, we talk about leads and we talk about closing leads, right? If we're targeting content to if we're writing content for our ideal client, then that increases the leads, not just the number of leads, but it increases the quality. And I think that's really important for us. We don't have time to go through a list of cold leads or just people poking around our website. We really want to reach the people that we want to work with. And so I say the spoiler is the power of your website isn't in getting a lot of visits to your website. It's really in getting quality visits. I'd rather have 100 visits and 10 leads than a million visits and no leads, right? Like, I think everyone can agree that's really what we want. So blogging is really is an affordable way to update your website, to get those additional pages to your website, to connect with your target audience in a different way than what we do on the website, and to dive a little deeper into our thought leadership, really. On my website, I have website content. So that's website copywriting as well as blogging. And then every time I write about that, I link them back to that service page. But I dive deep on blogging tips on my particular blog because that's what I do. So you can dive in on yours. I was poking around. I saw some in the chat. There was a travel blogger, it looks like, who has a website, and there was a Texas Airbnb website. And so for yours, for an Airbnb, you could write about, here's your freebie. You could write about things to do in the area because it looks like you're pretty focused in a particular area. You can write about that. If you're a traveler and you're traveling in a certain area, then maybe strategize and blog about one place for a month, once a week, 4 blog posts on that particular place. The next month, write about another place, travel tips, packing tips, all that kind of stuff. And that's how and then you drive it to your service pages. So if you're a reservations page, reserve your spot at our Airbnb over here, and link them over there. But then people can start to see, they really know this area where they have their Airbnb. They really know their products. They really know that service because they're diving in and saying, here are the benefits of what we offer. Companies with blogs, with a blog strategy, produce about 67% more leads a month than those who do not have blogging within their strategy. My sidebar on this topic is, if all your marketing is being done through social media, please start a blogging strategy. Please get some of your own content out there. Social media is wonderful. It's a great way to reach a lot of people. But one, you don't have their email addresses. You just have people who follow you. So you don't have those 500 email addresses of those people typically. And social media can get shut down, whether it's your account or the whole platform could get shut down at any time, or without reason or without warning, and all that content you've created on that social media goes away. So I really, really, really want to encourage you to start blogging. For most of my clients who are small businesses, 1 to 2 times a month. That way you have original content to share on your social media and in your newsletters, or you can take something and share it in an email to someone, and it saves time sending the same emails over and over. Now, marketers who prioritize blogging receive 13 times more return on investment than companies that did not. So these are statistics from HubSpot, which is an industry leader. So if you're looking for more information about websites and blogging, that's a great resource to go to. They do get a little bit more technical, but that's where those stats came from. So when we start blogging, and really it kind of goes along with what we talk about with the beginning of our developing content for our website, is what are questions you're always getting asked about your business? Who do you want to be working with? And what do you want them to know about what you're offering? What problem do you solve for them? What's your passion? If you're a solopreneur like me, tell your story on that website. If you're a growing organization, put a blog post out about who you've added to your team. That's of interest to your audience, I'm sure. If I go to an accounting office and she has a new person helping her, I want to be able to go in and say, I saw your article. I like wine. You like wine. Whatever it is, it creates some, friendliness between people. And it's easier to work with people when you know a little bit about them. That's really where we start with blogging, is kind of the same, really a lot of times for me, it's the same conversation as what do we want to put on your website? And then usually from there, we take the more specific items and we put those on the blog. I have an agricultural client and he has a very specific, um, he doesn't use pesticides. And so there's this number that scientists use to determine how healthy a plant is. It's called a BRICS number, BRIX. And so he said, well, let's talk about it on this page. And I said, no, let's do like an FAQ and do a little bit and then link that over to a blog post that goes into greater detail. We don't want to bore people, not bore, but we don't want to overload people, I should say, on a page on the website when they're just kind of looking to see what's this company all about, this nonprofit all about. So we linked it out to a website page about that goes into more specifics. So kind of think about it like that, as you're like, okay, I want to put this on my website. I want to talk about this service, but then in greater detail, put the rest in a blog post. After we kind of start with the basics, like what's that email you're always sending? What do you want people to know about your business? What are those questions you're always getting asked? We start creating content with those initial ideas. And as you're out networking or talking to your prospects and clients, or even friends and family about your business, write down questions that they ask that you're like, oh, I could write about that. Just last week, I presented for my networking group about the power of blogging and went to lunch with a couple of ladies from the group. And in that conversation, we came up with topics for both of them, simply in talking about our businesses and how we do business. And then keep articles that are related to your business or your industry. Bookmark those somewhere, save them on your cell phone, put them in a spreadsheet, however you kind of keep lists. I don't know. Some people are digital. I'm more analog. However you do that, keep those. And then what you could do is you could take that topic, work it into your strategy, right? Work it into that calendar and say, I want to make a statement about this article. If it's timely, like for accountants at tax time and congressional or tax changes, either by state or national, then that's more timely than just something else. I have an article on my website, Agency Content Writer, about ChatGPT because I spoke about it on a podcast and it's just a big topic. They're like, oh, writers are going out of style. And spoiler alert, I don't think we're going out of style, but I think we can change a little bit of how we do things and we can utilize ChatGPT to benefit our clients. So that's what I wrote about. It was newsworthy. Those are the types of, that's how you can utilize those articles. Or you could take an article and be like, I absolutely disagree with this, and let me tell you why. Because one of the things we want to do in our articles and our web pages too is link out to other sources. Google likes when we do that. It lends legitimacy to what we do, and yeah, it lends legitimacy to what we do, and Google likes when we do that. We also want to interlink on our websites. And I've talked about that as well, using the blog to link to service pages or link to the home page or link to your scheduling page. So my most asked question was, what is your process? And I think we'll be able to drop a link in the chat for what that article is. It says working with agencies, but really it's working with anyone. People are like, how do you get what's in my head onto my website? So I wrote about it. It's basically through conversations. Most people like to talk about themselves rather than write. I write and then talk. But I think for most, you can hit record and answer some questions, or I can send you a survey, or we can just have a conversation, get an idea of topics that we want to talk about. So what's your most asked question? Start there. I want to thank you so much for your time. I know we did not we hit on a lot of topics. We didn't have time, a super amount of time to go into a lot about search engine optimization and resources. That is another way to beef up your website content and your blog, is to utilize keywords. So I've linked down here the Power of Blogging article that I wrote for networkbuildgrow.com. And I think there's a link we can drop in the chat. specifically right to that article. And I go into a little bit of more detail, and I've also got some free SEO resources for where you can start, because we want create content that targets our ideal client. We want to answer the most asked questions, and we want to create relevant content. And then we can power that up using keywords. And honestly, it doesn't take a deep dive for a lot of the businesses that I work with, smaller businesses. We want to get a reach to the people that we want to talk to. We don't need to reach everyone. If you're in like real estate or pool service in Phoenix, there's so many pool services and everybody has a pool, landscapers, folks like that. Then for those high traffic, I call them high traffic online businesses, then we want to talk about a deep dive into keyword research, probably hiring someone who's a technical SEO person who can really dive in and figure out, do we have to do pay-per-click and that type of marketing? Not my area of expertise. I have folks that can help you with that if that's something that you want. My professional opinion is that smaller businesses, we don't necessarily need it, but there will come a time when we've kind of maxed out what we can do. We've got written content, we've done video content, we've done podcast content, we're guest speakers, we have all that going on for us. We have all those links happening. And now maybe we have to move on to something that's a little bit more technical, which is like a pay-per-click or different types of ads. But right now, this is really creating organic traffic for you and doing kind of some cursory keyword research. So that's in that blog post. There's some other resources for you. But today we learned about the importance of defining our target client. So we're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall, and that we're creating content on our website and in our blog that really speaks to those folks that we want to work with the most. Doesn't mean we don't want to work with other folks. It actually frees us up to say no or to say yes to those folks who fall outside that target market. Remember, web pages are an overview and a little bit more like sales. Guide them through your website and how do you want to do that. And blogging is where we get more specific about products, services, the business, the industry, and that sort of a thing. That, like an industry report, isn't going to go on a web page. It will probably go on a blog post. And then reaching your target audience with keyword-based relevant content. We want to not only write about topics that are relevant, because Google likes when we do that, right? We kind of want to stay in our lane on our website. We also want to make sure that maybe we're targeting some keywords so that we can attract that target client. Let's see. Oh, and that's how you find me. I appreciate you all. I'll give you a minute to take that down. And there is a scheduler on my website if you'd like to connect and just have a conversation. Hey, I'm overwhelmed. Hey, I'm not sure where to start. That's how to find me. I'm going to stop sharing and throw this back over to Marcus, I think. What do we have going on in the chat?
Hello. Yeah, we had a nice conversation going in the chat, and actually a ton of questions. So I'm gonna try and get us through as many as we can. But at the end, I will ask you to share again how people can get a hold of you. So if we don't get to some of them, then people can reach out directly. I'll just start at the top and work my way down. And I hope I grabbed them all from the chat. If I didn't, again, please reach out to Anne directly. But let's start there. Okay, you touched on this a tiny bit with the onslaught of AI resources being thrown at us for content writing. How can that play a role in figuring out your target customer and or creating content for them?
Ooh. Such a big question. There's so many moving parts to ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's all changing from day to day too.
Yes. I have an article on my website about ChatGPT, and my take is this: at this point, writers aren't going out of business. We still need a human touch. ChatGPT can give us some content. I've used it. I've taken it direct from the chat and put it into a plagiarism checker. And at this point, the content wasn't plagiarized, but my feeling is that as more of us are asking the same questions, the chances are going to go up for it to be plagiarized. So I suggest running it through a plagiarism checker and just changing it up. Brand it for your business. This is how you reach us. Hey, I'm Marcus with GoDaddy. Like maybe some of it is from ChatGPT. Where I think it's beneficial for us is in hashtags generation. And I know there's other tools out there, but I used it for that. I said, hey, what are hashtags for travel bloggers? And it was great because it also said at the bottom, it gave me like 20 hashtags. And at the bottom, it said, also remember, like, is it boutique? Do hashtag boutique or hashtag the exact location. It actually gave me some ideas that I didn't have myself. So I thought that was interesting. Idea generation and social media posts also. And the social posts had hashtags on them, which I thought was really interesting. And I was like, well, I never would have thought about that. Like it just kind of got my brain moving. So for me, and I think for a lot of us, it's really for idea generation and kind of take it and make it your own and brand it for yourself. The reality is if we're smaller businesses, we're telling our story and we're very specific, ChatGPT is just going to sound robotic.
Yeah.
So it's good, but like the internet, it's good up to a point, and then, put your own spin on it.
Yeah, totally agreed that blank canvas can be daunting, and so having something to just say like, here's what my business does. Can I get 10 ideas where to start, and then right from there. It's a
Actually,
huge boost for folks to not have to just, like I said, stare at that blank screen and wonder where to start.
yeah, I mean, you put in blog post and an idea, and it's like, oh, here you go. And I was like, oh, there is no writer's block anymore. A robot does it. Okay, okay.
Right.
It was really fun. I used it for a headline analyzer as well. And that was super fun. Like I was like, challenge accepted. Like, or my headlines aren't as good as I thought they were. And that was a good lesson to learn. So I've upped my game on that.
Yeah, definitely a tool to come alongside and help with all of the content writing. Okay, do you have sort of a two-part question because they're kind of related? Do you have any resources or checklists for determining your target audience? And also, kind of along the same lines, um, where did it go? It was someone was looking for tools that you use to help with SEO and figuring out what SEO terms to kind of add. So I guess the question is, what tools do you have that maybe you can recommend for people that are trying to figure out um, what their target audience is and then how to target them with appropriate keywords?
I'm putting together a blogging workbook and some downloadables, and I have target audience, finding your target market checklist on there. So I'll make sure, maybe Marcus, I can send it over to you, or we can drop it in the YouTube link or something like that when it's ready.
Yeah,
Um,
that and sorry, I meant to mention it with the ChatGPT article that you said you wrote. I will collect all the links that I can from you from this, and I will make sure to include them in the descriptions that go with the video and the email
yeah,
that
I
goes
could
out
shoot
to
you an
folks.
email. I
Yep,
I throw out a lot and I forget what I send you. Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Um, and then the tools for SEO, that power of blogging post has specifics. Uber suggest keywords everywhere. SEMrush, SEMrush are the big ones. My blog, and then there's thought leadership, HubSpot, Moz, MOZ, and I know there's another one. But there's quite a few free SEO and feel your way around. The other thing is, how are people finding you? You do some research with your networking group, for example. People don't look for me as a content writer; they look for a freelance writer. So I've got to get a blog post up. Why I'm a content writer, not a freelance writer, so I can get that Google love on the freelance writer keyword without saying I'm a freelance writer. That's
Yeah, there
another
you go.
trick.
That's a good one. Let's see. I'm sure you get asked this a million times, but let's do it one more. How often should you blog?
Oh, I thought it was gonna be how long should a blog post be? I'll answer both.
Sure, we'll go
How
with that one
often
too.
should you blog? It's most of my clients, it's 1 to 2 times a month, because I work with smaller organizations and nonprofits, and marketing companies, marketing agencies. If there's more, it's usually dependent on, like, an SEO strategy, a little bit of a deeper dive, or getting some more if maybe it's a new website and we wanna get the SEO really going, we'll blog 1 or 2 times a week. That is not typically my target client. Speaking of target clients, but that does happen, and those, we can work with that as well. I'm happy to take on that kind of work. Um, but yeah, for most of us, it's 1 or 2 times, and we push it out on social media once or twice. We can use it in our newsletter. You could do a video about it, or you've got a video and we want to write written content. I can do that as well. And then,
Awesome.
how long should
Yep.
it be?
Hmm.
That's another commonly asked question. Google likes at least 350 words. Mine are usually 400 to 600, a little bit longer lately. Um, I would say a mix. So maybe a couple that are 1,000 words and some that are a little bit shorter. We're all reading on our devices. So
Hmm.
like, I'm like, if I have to scroll more than twice, I'm done. Like, I get however far 2 scrolls gets me. I don't know about anybody else, but that's kind of my
Yeah.
yeah.
Along the lines of it being too long, Kent just asked in the chat, can you blog too often?
No. I think you've got to be strategic about it though.
Yeah.
And not everything has to have keywords in it either. Introduce a new teammate. We don't have to keyword up Sally joined the team. That's a
Yeah.
story. So mix it up. And then let's see. Yeah, you can't blog too much. Oh, I see someone said, I launched my site in a month. Should I launch with one blog, or is it okay to have multiple? I would say multiple. Then all those pages get indexed and Google starts really noticing you. And frankly, I'm jealous if you have all those blog posts to post. Get them out
Yeah.
there.
The more content that Google has on you, the better.
Yeah, yeah, that's really it. Um, my tools for blogging, I don't have it done yet. I'm working on it. I have an old workbook, but it doesn't have enough juice in it anymore. And we've got to talk about that chat GPT stuff. So I'm putting that together probably faster than I was going to.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome for the answer. There was another one here. How do you reissue an old blog post? Oh, I feel like we might want to go to an SEO expert on that. You can what I would do is this, and I think this is the right way to do it, unless some Google rules changed. Leave the old one there, write a new one, refer back to the old one, and put a note on the old one. This was originally posted. We've got a new one so that they refer to each other. So, for example, I might have old posts about social media and Instagram and Pinterest weren't there. So I write a new one and say, oh, by the way, we're doing more visual and video. Here's the old one, but now we've got these 3 new ones, and make a new statement because that old post has been indexed the way it is. You can
Yeah.
change it, but I think the best practice is to just refer them to each other. Then you get double links too, right?
Right. Probably better to double up on the
Yeah.
content than to confuse, oh, I thought this page said this, but now it says something else and the date
Yeah.
changed.
Especially now, Google's indexing for relevant content and keywords, and so I feel like you're kind of messing with it if you go into that same one and repost it currently. I think it may mess up your SEO. Don't take it as gospel. If you hear something else, please, everyone, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's still the best practice.
Yeah, I have another one from a little bit earlier, and we can maybe even broaden it out. Do you link your blog posts to LinkedIn as well? I get good engagement there, so maybe if you want to talk just a little bit about kind of the integration, maybe not integration, the interactivity, the interaction between like your social media accounts and your blog content, and how your content can feed that stuff, and how they kind of mesh with each other.
That's
How
another
do you
presentation, Mark. No.
No, I know that's a whole
Yes.
different topic on its own, but maybe high level.
Let's repurpose. Yes. What I would say not to do, and I'll start there, is don't put the exact same thing you have on your website on your LinkedIn. That's duplicate content. Google tends to frown on that. Can you write the same topics on both? Yes. LinkedIn also tends to be a little bit less formal and a little bit more kind of tongue in cheek sometimes. So use that to your advantage. Where on your own website, it might be a little bit of a different tone, same topic, same information, similar information, but it might be a little bit different. Yes, put your blog posts out there on LinkedIn on your personal profile, and you can also have a business profile. What I was told was put it on your, put on your business personal profile and then share it to your business. Or do you put on your business and then share it? I do both. Because I'm a writer, I'm my own brand. So for solopreneurs, I don't know if it really matters.
That makes sense.
For businesses with larger teams, probably it's put it on the business page and then your folks can share it to their pages. That's what I'm going to, I stand by that. But yes, definitely share that content on social. It gets, you do drive visits to your website from social media. And I've noticed, like, if you ever Google your own name or your business name, whatever is kind of tracking more on Google, if I'm using LinkedIn more and I haven't posted a lot on my website, my LinkedIn will actually rank higher than my own website, which tells me I need to do more blogging. But it's kind of interesting where you're more active. I was active on Twitter for a long time, so it would be Twitter, LinkedIn, and then my website. So it does help drive those visits for sure. And I think people on LinkedIn want to know, what are you talking about? What's your take on this topic? And helps, and it drives traffic to your website, but it helps you become the thought leader and the expert voice.
Yep. You get folks that are just sort of scrolling through LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen Anne talk about this like 4 or 5 times. I have a question about this. Let me reach out to Anne. She's
Yeah.
definitely the one to ask. So that's, building up that authority on the topic.
By the way, all these questions
Yeah.
are great blog topics, so coming soon.
There you go.
An FAQ.
This whole FAQ is blog fodder to just,
It
fill up that
really
blog.
is.
Alicia asked a little bit ago, she said, Anne, this is an awesome webinar. Thanks. I'm curious, what's the most common mistake you see small business owners make when it comes to building website content?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the content. The biggest mistake is not adding content. Your website and your blog aren't one and done. Your business changes, you change. We want to be updating that content. Like, service pages maybe don't change, but if you're shifting who you're serving, then we want to make sure that's reflected on your website, because that's your brand. That's your, you've got a new service that you're launching. We'll make it a big deal on your website as much as you do when you go to networking meetings or speaking engagements. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, is not updating the website. Not at least having a professional editor look at the content and just saying, oh, this is great, I know my business the best. It's hard to market your own business, which is my web pages themselves need some work.
Yeah.
Because I'm writing all of yours, but it's easier for an outsider to maybe make it a more clear message. So that's the other thing. And I'm not trying to sell you on me. I just think it does make a difference when you have someone else look at it who looks at these all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this actually wasn't asked, but I'm curious because you talked just a minute ago a little bit about how your business changes, your services change and stuff. You shared about repurposing content, leaving the old content and referring back to it. Is there a time when you would just remove blog content, right? If your services change and you're no longer doing a thing you wrote about 2 years ago, does it make sense to remove that content?
Yes, it does make sense. I don't write about social media anymore. I might on somebody else's website, but probably not, because that's not really my niche anymore. So yes, there may come a time where you do want to take those older posts down rather than making a new statement about it. So I don't know that you'll find much out. Well, it's probably on other people's website, but there's none on mine for social media. I have them drafted though, just in case, a little inspiration, or I don't know, somebody asks and I go, oh, let me do a dive into my drafts. But yeah, I don't think they're published anymore, not on my site.
That makes sense. Kelly asked an interesting question that I hadn't really thought about. So Kelly said, "I I get often asked about price. Um, I have a standard response about pricing. I'm assuming pricing for services.
Mhm.
I have a standard response and it works, but the how do I reach the person that uses price as a major decision in choosing to work with me in my copy?" I guess distilling that down a bit, right? If price is really the ultimate factor for someone choosing to work with Kelly or her agency, I guess, how are there good ways to address that in the copy, um, to continue the discussion, to get people to call, or I guess better qualify the people that are reaching out?
I'm going to answer it with a question and then I'll tell you why, which is, do you really want to work with the people who are hiring you solely based on price? You have more experience and knowledge than price. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so I call those folks tire kickers. I personally don't want to work with them. So I put my prices on my website. Now that those prices, like my referral partners, they have different pricing. My referrals from my networking group have different pricing and it's discounted from what's on the website. But what having my pricing, and I go back and forth, I've had it on there, I haven't had it on there. When I have it on there, it avoids tire kickers and people who simply want to work with me based on price and not knowledge and experience over time. So if you want to work with them based on price, publish your prices and tell them what all it includes. But I think you're worth more than that. I really do. We all are. If you're on this call, you know you want to learn about this. So I think it's not necessarily about the content, but really about having your prices on your website or not. And I'm sure we could have a great debate about it. But that right now is the reason why I have my pricing on there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Once you start fighting the battle for being the lowest price, it's a race to the bottom, right? You end up
Yeah.
shortchanging yourself a lot of times, and devaluing yourself, and just
And
sticking to,
hating your client, like, you're just gonna hate them.
yeah, those
Just
I've
like, "I
done
don't
the
wanna write that, I don't wanna do that." Like, that's how I get it.
I've done the agency thing as well, and in my experience, the folks that are looking for the lowest price are also going to be the most hands-on and the most, nickel
That's a
and
great
diming and
point.
making sure they get every cent out of what you are offering. And the people who
Mhm,
end up paying more are the ones that, lean on your expertise. They hired you for your thought leadership and for your skills and experience, and they let you do your thing.
mhm.
Uh, let's see, I have a couple more, I think. As writing for a nonprofit, where do you start? Building members, donors, etc.?
Is it a new nonprofit? Did they specify?
No, it just says
Just a
as a
new website.
nonprofit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do,
I think
I guess the question is just where do you focus your content first if you're writing for nonprofits?
loaded pistol. Nonprofits are a little tricky. Oh, where do you wanna start? Where does your board and your executive committee want to begin? If you've got the funding, then maybe it is gathering volunteers, or if it's launching a program to reach the community, like a timely one, like school backpacks, then that's going to be what we highlight on your website. Um, so it really is dependent on the mission, the timing, what your team wants to do. If it's more of a slow burn, like, hey, we're moving and grooving, we know we need a website, or we know we need to update a website. Obviously, we're nonprofit, we want donors, but also we want volunteer, whatever it is that's most important. We really want to know what that is, to put that at the call to action at the top of the page. And then, like we saw in the nonprofit I showed you, we do have a donate button, but for that particular organization, it is lower than probably for most, because they get some public funding and they've got a private grant. Um, So it really depends. Now, I have a website partner that offers a maintenance plan that's a little bit different than any other one I've heard about, and she offers 2 hours of content every month. You can add that up and have 24 hours of content during the year, content updates. They don't write it for you, but that's why we partner. They don't do any of the writing, but you can change your pages up basically. So when I have these types of events and I can post a video, they help me upload the video. I write the content on the website. For nonprofits, I think that's a super valuable thing to have in your back pocket. Yes, it's a monthly expense to have maintenance, but then you know the website's working properly, it's getting backed up, God forbid it's hacked. You can go
Yeah.
back to that last backed up version, and and you can get those pages updated. So if you're doing school backpacks and that's the school backpack homepage, then we take that down and we put up the next mission of the year, or whatever it is. Your gala's coming up, and we put the gala page up. Whatever that strategy is, I think then you don't have to go back to the web designer and do a one-off. And I think over time, it's absolutely worth it, especially for nonprofits who kind of have a moving target of what is the call to action.
Yep. That totally makes sense. I think that is all I have. There were a handful of questions that were kind of deep dives into specific businesses, specific websites. So I will let folks with those questions just reach out to you directly. So that is all I have for now. Looks like you added your contact info to the chat again. I will make sure that that gets included in
Yeah.
video descriptions and
And
stuff
if you have
for
specifics about your
folks.
website, I'd love to chat with you. It's a 30-minute consult. And on the scheduler, just ask your questions. I see there are some questions. And Christine did say on LinkedIn, business, then share to personal. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Christine. And thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you, everybody. This has been really fun. I love talking about blogging. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the presentation, and thank you folks for sticking around for the Q&A. There's always such great content in the Q&A as well. So
Yeah.
I appreciate folks that stuck around and listened to the Q&A as well. With that, I am going to wrap us up though. We're just about at the hour point anyway. Thanks everyone for joining us today. This will get posted back to our event site, events.godaddy.com. And then you can also watch any other replays of our events there and register for any future events. So make sure to go check that out. Also, this will be uploaded to our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel, and we have all of our past event replays there as well. That's it for us today. Thank you to Anne again for joining me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I'll see you all again. Have
Yep.
fun.
Thanks,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
We'll see you at the next meetup. Bye bye.